Now that you have an understanding of why standardized testing is an ineffective method used in education, I will explain the effect of standardized testing on a child's morale. As previously stated, each year, children are administered a test required by their state of residence. While the educational department states that this is an excellent way to measure children, what about the kids who fail every year? Think about the children who work hard and put in as much effort as they can on their tests, yet they continue to fail. Have you ever heard of the phenomenon of the self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, for those of you who have not, the self-fulfilling prophecy is the idea that our prediction or expectation of an event makes the event more likely to occur. Basically, this means if you believe that you're going to fail, you will fail. So think about the child who received a failing grade from the previous administered test. If they told themselves that they were going to do poorly the next year, the more likely they will. As if this concept was not clear enough, researchers set out to have a concrete understanding of standardized testing caused a decrease in morale in children, and the results supported their hypothesis. In a research article published by the Canadian Journal of Education and researched by Laura Lee, the study aimed to discover if standardized testing was becoming a problem for students. Their study interviewed high school students and found that almost all of the children based their self-worth off their test. Many of the children, even those who were labeled average, began to question their academic abilities and if they were cut out for college. So again, not every child is going to necessarily fail, but even average children were questioning if they were worthy and academically prepared to continue on to college. Now that I have presented the evidence for why standardized testing is an ineffective method and decreased students' morale, I will now discuss what other top-ranking educational countries are doing to help foster an educational environment where the children flourish. One of the countries that has been given praise year after year all over the world is Finland. Most of us would assume that Japan or Korea would be top-ranking, but it seems that Finland is almost always on top every year. They have the highest PISA scores out of everyone. The reason for this is that Finland has adopted an unorthodox method for education. Their secret? Well, one article for The Atlantic written by Anna Parton looked into why Finland was doing so well. And the reason why was that Finland does not administer any tests, with the exception of one exam going into secondary education. Finland chose not to pursue the testing route in order to prepare their students not for memorizing information, but to truly have a full understanding of all materials that is being learned and how to put that information taught into real-life scenarios. Teachers are not trained to teach students to prepare for a test. Instead, they are encouraged to be facilitators for the children's learning. The children are taught to experiment and come to their own conclusions. Thus, this provides an environment fostering children to become critical thinkers as opposed to memorizers. Along with this, none of the children feel pressured. Even the children with learning disabilities succeed because they too discover what techniques promote their learning, which in return helps them educationally flourish. In conclusion, as previously stated, the United States is falling behind other countries educationally. In order to continue to be a top-ranking country in other areas, it is time that the United States stop investing so much money in bailing out big companies and sports events and start investing in education. Clearly, our education system is flawed, and the people, especially the children, are paying for it. As the research suggests, standardized testing is not an effective way to measure or determine if children are learning, and many children's morale is suffering for this. Instead, the United States of America needs to adopt a system similar to Finland's in order to create a country who can critically think, solve problems, instead of practicing techniques that are yielding similar results. One of my favorite quotes by the great Albert Einstein states this: "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, he will live his whole life believing he is stupid." Therefore, I leave you with this. It is time that America step up to the educational challenge and stop comparing children as a standard and start allowing them to find their own genius.
That was good.